Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have an excellent game to share with you from 1961. This was played in New York between Bobby Fischer on the white end and Samuel Reshevsky. Okay, the opening here, Sicilian defense. And black here goes for the dragon variation, accelerated dragon. All right, let's get some more moves in here. Take some care over that d4 knight. Knight f6, bishop e2. Forget about any disruptive knight g4 moves now. That can be an irritant to white, undermining the support of d4. Forget about it. Black castles, and white does not follow suit. Plays here f4. So duo is formed. Some space here for Fischer with this duo. d6 follows, and given this slight space here for white, he says, you know what, let me go ahead and keep a pair of knights on board. Ducks this exchange. Also, you do step out of e5 with tempo, fork. How black plays it from here, in a way, he is trying to exploit a weakness behind Fischer's last move. What was the knight on d4 doing? Controlling e6. The bishop hops to that square, with an eye on next playing d5, challenging that duo. Now, Fischer goes for a pawn storm at this stage, launches the g-pawn. Now, critical moment already. What do? Nearby for white f5, g5, you better have a good answer to both. Now, the general rule to this wing play is to respond in the center. d5, in other words. And that's how Reshevsky plays it. In this case, however, this is not a good reaction, and Fischer's going to demonstrate why that's the case. Here's how the computer wants to play it. Wants to respond to g4 with rook to c8. Now, I should point out that one of the ideas behind d5 in this game is to have a good response to g5. If you're playing g5, okay, the knight can respond in a forward way. Knight takes e4 is there. Rook c8 is how the computer wants to play it. And it says if the knight is given a kick, be all right, running in reverse. In fact, in this position, it prefers black by just a little bit. From this position, it's looking at a couple key pawn breaks, d5 and f5. They have something in common. They both challenge this pawn duo. All right. How it is played in this game after this pawn storm idea, it's the central break, d5. Follow up here, top move, f5. Flushes this bishop all the way back home. Why is it going back home instead of here? Well, it stays out of the queen's way. Black is looking forward to some counter strike on d5. Let's see how that plays out. Fischer takes on d5, knight b4, and bishop to f3. This here clearly a big focus, 3 attackers, and after white's last move, there's adequate support, 3 defenders. Where do we go from here? Well, black takes on f5, and let me throw this position to you as a pop quiz. How would you respond here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, top move here. I really like this move. It's nothing flashy. A3 is played, giving the knight a kick, saying, get out of my house. Now, if we look at this tension right here, I mean, that moves a capture here on f5 or a push should run through one's mind, but there's downsides with each. If you go ahead and take here on f5, you're helping black develop. Now, one reason you may be pulled in that direction to capture on f5 is because there's now this completely opened file. But black here is now all of a sudden coordinating with that knight on c2. You have to defend. Then there's rook c8 ideas, introducing some exchange sacrifices. d5 can maybe collapse. Maybe knight takes a2 as a move as a follow-up. Not a good idea to pull this bishop to a wonderful diagonal. Not a good idea to capture. Also, if you consider this push, that would not be good because of knight g4. Has this pivot, generates a threat, and another way to look at it, black is happy that this pawn here is still around on the g-file. It is a help to the black king. If there's a white major piece on the g-file, great. What are you doing? Just staring at a pawn. The best move in this position here, move in the game, a3. Now the knight does not have to budge just yet. Black goes ahead and captures on g4, and playing in this way, Fischer is giving up a pawn. Preserves the bishop here. Now the knight finally has to move. Goes to a6. And that's where it will stay for the rest of the game. It is a completely out of play piece. How do you try to even get it back in the ballgame? Knight c5, that's covered more than once. Your option to go to c7, what next? A struggling piece. Fischer's down a pawn, but this is not a 3-point knight. Where do we go from here? Well, you could castle. Castle, rook on a half-open file. You could also say you prevent a healthy developing move, bishop f5. Not how Fischer plays it. He develops the queen here. Where to exactly? d3. Now, this formation here, this battery, is frequently an idea to eliminate that dark square bishop. But even better here is the move in the game. This is top, queen d3. Cuts out bishop f5. Both castles and queen d3 cut out the bishop development. Why is queen d3 better than castles? Well, Fischer has his eye here on queenside castles. When might queenside castles be more attractive than kingside castles? When your rook is immediately activated. Once the rook is on the d-file after queenside castles, it's productive. It has some air. d2, d3, d4. It supports white's most valuable pawn. One that black may try to challenge. Okay, queen d3. Perfect move here. Black's play is to, in fact, challenge the invasive pawn. He goes with e6 here. Now, even with best play, it likes this position here for white. It's already calling it close to +1. Here's how the computer wants to play it here. It has its eye on queen d6, and next up, knight to h5. So there's a few things going on with this knight move here to h5. There's a jump on f4, and the knight is it's a clearance move. Clearance for the bishop, can now see on the main diagonal. The queen, because queen g6 can be a move in some cases, offering a queen exchange, playing up the pawn. And one final note, the pawn can maybe think about playing to f5 in some cases. So a lot of stuff going on with these two moves right here. Not how black plays it. Challenges this big pawn here on d5. Fischer castles, capture on d5, and now h3. I love these small little moves here. He's saying, let's exchange pawns. I want an open file. Opposite sides castles. Let's open the lines. Black plays g3. Not so fast. H file will not open up. Fischer hops to the g file. g3 pawn in the crosshairs. From here, queen d6. Bishop captures knight. Pawn captures bishop. It's the knight in the end that wants to be here on this d5 square. Look at this position. It is wide open. All of white's pieces are activated, and this queen side is completely underdeveloped. Where do we go from here? It's king h8, gets out of any possible knight checks. Also, you're getting out of a pin once this pawn is collected. That's going to happen shortly. King h8 it is. Bishop f4, queen g6, and from here queen d2 is played, preserving the queens, still with an eye on going after the king. White has the safer king. Now, there is a slight drop-off in the evaluation with queen d2. How it's going to play out after queen d2, the pawn is swiped. And after rook captures pawn, the bishop goes into a pin, tries to hold up the pressure along the g-file. With queen e2, the top move in this position, it's saying you don't have that option anymore to take and meet rook captures pawn with bishop g4. The queen would be on that square, and the rook would have a clear shot at that number one defender for black's king. It's queen d2 in this game. We get the capture here on h3 and g3. Black goes into a pin. You don't really have many options here. There's always these ideas to sacrifice the rook for that. What do we call it? A 4-point bishop, maybe a 5-point bishop at this stage. No g-pawn around. Very delicate position here for black. Rook h1. White rook's playing. Black rook's doing nothing. Okay, one hops to an open file, but by this point, it's completely gone here for black. Knight e3 here, hammering away at that pinned bishop. Before this move could be played, Fischer had to spot black's follow-up, namely queen e4. Pop quiz. How would you respond here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, the top move here, move in the game, the move Fischer had to see before playing knight to e3, queen h2, top by a wide margin. There were two threats. So before putting queen h2 on, there's two threats here after queen e4, targeting the bishop and the rook, ready to take the rook with check. Fischer covers this one, this threat, and says, my bishop is now poisoned. Queen takes bishop, you're getting mated. The black queen has a responsibility. And the bishop here, now hit twice, defended 0, has to move. If you try to defend, that's no defense. The h-pawn is pinned. You collect the bishop. Playing f5, that would cut the queen's defense of h7, and we would have mate. So the bishop has to go. e6 it is. And now, rook captures bishop, exchange, sacrifice. Very forceful follow-up moves here. King takes rook, queen h6 check, hammering away on these dark squares. King g8 is played here. Feels a little weird at first glance. I mean, you're sticking around on an open file, inviting rook g1 with check. Why are you playing like that? Well, the alternative, king in the corner, would run into bishop e5, check, and we'll have mate shortly. The bishop is, yet again, poison. We'd have mate. So the king goes to g8 here, rook g1, and black at any point could, of course, resign at this stage. Plays on for several more moves down the queen here. The imbalance we're looking at is a queen and knight versus two rooks. But, all right, after that exchange here, it's a queen and bishop versus the two rooks. By this point, however, it's feeling more like a queen, knight, and bishop versus the two rooks, because this clown over here is doing nothing. All right, the dark squares are exploited in short order here. In fact, after h5, queen d8, black resigns. If the game continued, what are black's options here? Rook f8 runs into knight h6 check, king h7 only move, and you could collect the rook. And if you move the king, king f7, knight h6, mate, and king h7, queen, corner, pocket, mate. What'd you think of this one? Feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.